different Rotary activities. Excuse me. First of all, she's the immediate past president of the North St. Paul Maplewood Oakdale Rotary, and that was her second term as president of that Rotary. And she also accompanied her new president to Australia, so she was at the convention that Ashley was at this year in Australia. With us, she came on our field trip to Big River Farms and Marine. That was several years ago. She came to the Gordon Parks play at the History Theater with us, and I think she's been here a couple of times probably. She's a good friend. She's a program specialist at the Minnesota Department of Education since 2000, and she works in the Division of Student Access and Opportunities. And that is why she's going to talk with us, pardon me, about the migrant education program. Noemi started teaching English and social studies at Humboldt Secondary School in St. Paul in 1994. And I don't know if it was her first connection with Rotary or not, but in 2009, she went to India under the group study exchange with Jim Hunt as her leader. So that connection to our Rotary goes back a while also. I also know that she's a bicyclist, and right? She shakes her head. Yes. So I'm very pleased to introduce Noemi to you today. Sorry for the stumbles.
No. Muy buenos días. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much. As she said, my name is Noemi Treviño. And yeah, White Bear seems like it's right in my backyard. And you guys seem like a vivacious group. So thank you for having me. Kevin invited me, and Jackie have become really, really good friends. And I thank Jim Hunt. You know, without Jim, I don't know if I'd have been Rotarian. Yay, Jim, wherever he is. So anyways, yes, so I work at the Minnesota Department of Education in federal programs. And as Bill Russell had mentioned, and Jackie had mentioned, there is a difference between an immigrant, a refugee, asylee, and what I'm going to be talking about is the migrant agricultural farm worker. So I work for the Migrant Education Program. And you tell me when I should go. Okay. All right. So this is a federal program. It's a national program across the country. And that is our logo here in Minnesota. So do I have to point it somewhere? Okay. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so Minnesota has its 10 commitments to equity. And one of the things that we are trying to do is to prioritize equity. And there's a whole speech that goes with each one of these, but when we present with the Department of Education, this is our focus. Oops, wrong direction. This is going to be a little video that explains what the Migrant Education Title I Part C is, and then I'll go into more detail.
There is a federally funded program for the children of migratory agricultural workers and migratory fishers. It's known as the Title I Part C Migrant Education Program and exists in virtually every state in the United States. The program is based on the fact that these children are mobile. They move from one district, from one state to another, because of their parent or guardian's agricultural or fishing work. This program is not to be confused with the issue of unaccompanied children who are unaccompanied minors coming from Central America. The needs of these children are very significant. They're some of the most disadvantaged children in the United States because of their poverty and because of their movement. They often suffer multiple interruptions every year in their education, leaving early before the end of the year is completed and coming back late and having to make up that work during the year. What the Migrant Education Program does is to knit a fabric nationally so that these children can get supplemental instruction during the summer and during the school year to make up for the disadvantages of that mobility. These children should be getting Title I Part A services because of their low income, as well as Title I Part C migrant education services. It's a program that has many models of excellence in the summer as well as during the school year, and you find more and more children graduating from high school as a result of both the program success and the hard work that these kids put into the program.
So again, the Migrant program is 100% federally funded. And this was started back, and the purpose is to ensure that, again, migratory students have access, like all students, to all the federal, state, and local programming across the country, like every child should receive. This is supplemental. This is above and beyond what every child generates in their local school districts. And we have school board members or former school board members. We have higher ed in here. So all of us are taxpayers, and so we want to know that our monies are going to help children receive a well-rounded education. So Congress, back in 1966, enacted this Title I Part C. And then you guys are probably around and remember the Harvest of Shame when President Lyndon Johnson brought this to our attention that, you know, kids who experience high levels of mobility, often in rural parts of the country, experience cultural and social isolation. There might be language barriers, and often are either over or under immunized and come from low income households. So our role at the Department of Education is to provide leadership, to provide oversight, ensuring that the migrant dollars or the Title I Part C dollars are used to benefit students, migratory students. Here's the legalese if you want to look it up. And again, our purpose is to address the unique educational needs, to overcome educational disparities. Imagine moving from one state to another, or one district to another, not having the same curriculum or scope and sequence. So you're enrolled in, let's say, Algebra 1 in Texas, and then you come to Minnesota, and at the end of the school year and the class is full, or you don't enroll, and you're in Algebra 1 again the following year. It gets very discouraging for young people. So that's a lot of coordination and collaboration to overcome those educational disruptions. We also want to make sure that they receive full and appropriate services and opportunities to meet the same challenging content standards that all students are expected to. And we don't want to penalize the student because of disparities in our systems. You know, you have schools that operate on a 6-week program, semesters, trimesters, 9 weeks, every combination you can imagine. And the kid is the one who gets stuck in the middle going, I didn't finish the semester or the coursework because of the different grading systems. And again, we want to make sure that they benefit from both local and state systems. So who is a migratory agricultural worker? So a migratory student is someone who is between the ages of 3 and 21 years old who has not yet received a high school diploma. And they have to move across district or state lines for agricultural purposes. So they have to work in agriculture either with their parent or guardian or spouse. You know, so you have some young people at 17, 18, 19 years old who move as emancipated youth and work, who may be eligible if they haven't received their high school diploma. And our goal ultimately is to make sure that they receive a high school diploma and they have opportunities either to go on to higher education or get a better paying job, because there's no such thing as a bad job. But a more living wage job, productive employment. And her hat, I am the product of their sacrifice. Many of the people, the fruit that we ate this morning, the juice that we're drinking, the tables that we're sitting at, had agricultural workers picking our fruit and vegetables with it. So the sacrifices that our families have made. The staff that's serving us. So Minnesota is a great state. We have a lot of agriculture. With the sugar beet, we're called the Red River Valley up in the northwest part along I-90. In the Moorhead northwest area. We have dairy, corn, alfalfa, soybeans in the west central, and a lot of corn and pea pack in the southern part. And we're also seeing a lot of meat and poultry processing plants with the Genios and the Golden Plumps, and I can't think of them all right now, but there's a whole bunch of them here in Minnesota. So part of the eligibility is packing, cleaning, and hauling, sorting, detasseling corn. Have you ever heard of picking rocks here in Minnesota? If you're from the farm, you understand that rocks grow, and in order to get the combine and the tractors in the fields, you need to have people pick rocks. So it was a big deal up in the Red River Valley, where it's black gold with the dark rich soil. Potato field work, grading, sorting, packing, harvesting sugar beets. Right now we're in the peak season of harvesting, so you have a lot of truckers up in the Red River Valley who are topping off sugar beets and putting them in pilers and stuff like that. Packing soybeans, milking and caring for cows, dairy cows, caring for poultry. So Minnesota has a lot of agriculture. Caring for pigs and hogs. So this is a real rough look at how migration works here in our country. We used to have three very steady streams, the eastern, the central, and the western stream. And Minnesota is considered a receiving state. Many of our migratory agricultural workers come from Texas, but we're seeing some from Florida and from California, even from Chicago area. So migration is happening, and it's happening across the country. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes human migration is sparked by wars, disasters, and now climate. You know, when we talk about the droughts we've experienced or the flooding that we've experienced, earthquakes, hurricanes, blizzards, all of these things impact agriculture. And I don't know about you guys, and many of you are business owners. It seems like everybody wants to get paid and not have to work. So trying to find folks to work is hard. So there is a shortage in agriculture. So, as I had mentioned, Minnesota is Texas is one of the highest sending states. So these are the top 12 districts in Texas that send where migratory families come from. So we can see a direct correlation from, let's say, Eagle Pass, Texas to Belgrade, Bruton, Rosa, or Crystal City to Moorhead, Minnesota. And it's generations of families that keep coming back year after year. So we have a lot of working relationships with the school districts in Texas as well. So it helps to be bilingual. So here's just a little trivia for the folks who are born and raised here in Minnesota. Do you know when the first record of Latino residents in the state of Minnesota? 1954, 1932, 1973, or 1860? Raise your hand. A, B, C, D. D, let's see. You're right. 1860 was the first record of Latinos here in Minnesota. So again, bringing it all back, what brought them to Minnesota? Because it sure wasn't the cold weather that's fast approaching, but it's agricultural work. A person who works either in seasonal or temporary agricultural work, typically 12 months or less, and they uproot and relocate. So these are people who are highly mobile and work in agriculture. So how many migrant agricultural farm workers do you think are in the United States? Between 2 to 5 million, 900,000 to 1.2 million, or 250,000 to 500,000? Between 2 and 5 million. Its estimated range, depending on the source and how it's defined, 85% of produce, 85% of the produce grown in the U.S. is hand-picked. The U.S. Department of Labor ranks farm work as the second lowest paid job in the nation. And I don't know about you guys, but just a few months ago, or maybe last year, paying $7 for a dozen eggs, that was outrageous. Now imagine if you're only getting paid less than that, an hour to be picking fruits and vegetables, it's really hard to feed a family. So we're talking about the economics of agriculture, and Minnesota's pretty healthy. We like our organic foods and stuff like that, and we have to pay more for that. But how do we make agriculture more accessible to all? What percentage of Minnesota, I don't know what it says behind it, supports agriculture? Minnesota land. So how much land here in the state of Minnesota supports agriculture? 25%, 40%, 51%, or 73% of our land? Anybody? 40%? 51% of our land here in Minnesota, about 26 million acres, is comprised about 51% of the state's land. It's ranked fourth in the nation in agricultural production, 17 billion in agricultural sales per year. Minnesota farms and agricultural production and processing industries generates 112 billion annually in a total economic impact that supports more than 431,000 jobs. Again, 85% of the produce grown in the U.S. is hand-picked. Now, the reality is agriculture, the number of farms in Minnesota is declining. It's getting absorbed. So the little family independent farms they're retiring, they're aging out. And so we're seeing that the consolidation, it lines up with the national trend showing that the farm numbers are falling across the country, caused by a range of factors over the decades, including low crop or animal product prices, farm consolidation, and the aging farmer workforce. So this map shows where the majority of the agriculture is generated from here in the state of Minnesota. So the western and west central and southern part of Minnesota has a lot of crop coverage. So as I'd mentioned, when you woke up this morning, you already had your first meeting with agriculture. Somewhere in your bedding and pajamas, you were probably fibers from cotton. Did you wash or shower with soap? The soap is made from fat from cattle and oil from plants such as palm, corn, and soybeans. Did you have cereal, eggs, bacon, pancakes, buttered fruit? All of that, thank agriculture again. Did you pack lunch for your children, your grandkids? Were they writing on papers and pens? The paper comes from an agricultural crop as well, trees. Corn and soybeans may go into the soy ink in your books. I think there's one of you guys that owns a printing company around here. All of that. The tires on your bus, your car, your bike, made from rubber plants, cords from cotton, tallows from cattle. All of these things that we often take for granted, not realizing that agriculture plays a very important part in our daily lives. And agricultural farm workers are up front and center in that. So, what are some of the challenges that agricultural farm workers encounter is exposure to hazardous chemicals and pesticides and occupational hazards of working on a farm. There's a lot of machinery, a lot of things going on, and it takes a lot of coordination. We'd like to think that it's like anybody can do it, but it's a lot of hard work physically. And unfortunately, it's very low wages. And many times when they come to our state and across the country, trying to find affordable, livable housing is really, really challenging. And I know Rotary is really focused on the human and sex trafficking, which we need to combat that as well in agriculture, because when there are crowded spaces, when you're away from your family, or if you travel with your family but can't find housing, it causes a lot of disruption, you know, and I'm looking at it from the educational aspect of trying to help children and their continuity in their schooling. And again, they work and pick 85% of our produce, yet they can't afford the same produce that they are picking, you know, and prepare it in a nutritious way. So the reality is there's a lot of worker shortages, irregular weather patterns that we are all experiencing, disasters, natural disasters, trade disputes, inflation, water, extreme heat. If you've ever walked soybeans or detasseled corn in your youth, you know, it's not as glamorous as we'd like to think it is sometimes. It is hard work. So I talked really fast because I wanted to make sure. Okay, so here's a joke because I don't want to be all sad and depressed here. What do you get when a chicken lays an egg on top of a barn? Yes. A broken egg. Anyone else? An egg roll. Da-dum-dum. Okay. So, one of the things that I want you to see here is there's this movie. It just came out probably a month ago. It was Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th. So sometime in there, this movie came out. So if you have Amazon Prime, go check it out. It's called A Million Miles Away. And here's just a little preview.
So, what's your big goal, dream?
I want to be an astronaut.
Oh my God. You're serious? Okay.
I wanted this for almost 30 years.
Ma, ¿para qué sirven las estrellas?
Every decision I've made with the space program in mind.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Jose Hernandez, sir. I'm an engineer.
You're the new guy, right? That third floor men's room needs toilet paper.
Going to space. It's a stupid dream. Last 10 candidates were chosen from 12,962 applicants. It's never gonna happen.
Those people who got into the program, what do they have that you don't?
They have skills that I don't have. It's taken them years to get where they are, but there's no guarantee. I know this is hard on everybody. My body hurts, I can't sleep. I know I can make this work. Over the last 10 years, I've applied to the space program 12 times, and I've been on the verge of giving up after each and every rejection. But you know what, sir? Here I am. So you could turn me down again, but rest assured, I'll be standing here again in a year.
We grew up watching our people make sacrifices. It's on us now.
Tenacity is a superpower.
This may not be your future. It will always be your past.
Who better to leave this planet and dive into the unknown than a migrant farm worker?
5, 4, 3, 2.
You're not crying, are you, Pa?
No, hombre, no. Some dirt got into my eye.
I see this and I see inspiration. And one of the reasons is I am a product of this story. My dad is the oldest of 12. My mom is 6 of 12. And my dad had maybe a 7th grade education. My mom had a 3rd grade education. And they came to this country when they were 12, 13, 15, 16. They have 4 children. I'm number 3 of 4. And they have a doctor, a PhD. They have, all of us have gone through higher education and have bachelor's and master's and a doctorate. And you think about, does what we do here in Rotary matter? The fact that you're doing stride and running around, collecting coats, supporting the arts, it inspires children to be more than what we think. You know, if we plant the seed, imagine that, we plant the seed, it will blossom. We just got to keep watering it. So what we do together, we're stronger together, and we have a purpose to is it fair to all concerned, to actually put the 4-way test into practice? Is it beneficial to all concerned? And I just find this to be super inspiring. There's also another movie, also based on a true story, called McFarland, USA. And it's also about agricultural farm workers out in the San Joaquin Valley who run cross country. Also another, again, it's about a teacher who sees potential and the interaction of education, opportunities. The sky's the limit, literally. The sky is the limit. So check out these movies. Again, the future is today, and how we invest in our communities, both locally and globally, we can inspire today and the next generation. So I know I kind of talked fast. Are there any questions that you have?